Okay, everyone. So in the last lesson, we talked about the for loop. Now let's look into another loop statement in the PHP language, which is the for each loop. So the for each loop is really suitable, especially if we are going to be using it together with arrays. So this is especially useful if we are going to be looping through items of an array or an object. So just have that in mind. We haven't yet covered the objects yet, but that's something that is also going to be an important concept when you're learning PHP. So we'll try to look into that as we move forward with the different lessons that we will be covering. But just as a quick overview on when to use the for each loop, we can use this through items of an array, and we want to also go and iterate over an iterable object. So let's just say this is an iterable object. And we want to have some sort of a concise and readable syntax for an array iteration. So something that you might want to do and ask yourself, depending on the requirements of the loop that you're going to be creating for you to be able to work with the data that you have, will be to differentiate the for loop and the for each. When do we use the for each and when do we use the for loop? So as I mentioned, when we want to go and iterate over an array or an object, iterable object, we might consider using the for each loop. So this is only going to be working with arrays and objects. And definitely we will encounter an error if we used other data types on a variable that and then we use the for each loop. So just have that in mind. If a variable is uninitialized and it has a different data type besides from an array, because an array is also a data type, it is not a primitive data type, but it is a compound type that will be holding multiple values of different types within a single variable. Now for the basic syntax for the for each loop, we can utilize the following syntax. So we usually can use two syntaxes. One will be, we use the for each keyword, then we have an iterable expression as a value, and then we put here the statement. And same thing, we can also use the syntax from where we will be using a key value pair. So that means we have a key and a value, and we use the fat arrow operator for us to assign the value to a key. Then we have the statement code block. Okay guys, so let's start to look at some examples here, and let me just declare a friends array and assign it a value of an array by using the square bracket. And let's put some names here. So I would say Josh, I have Alex, and I have Lawrence. So from here, I want to iterate through each of those elements through the use of the for each loop. So let's use for each here, and then let's go and get this reference to the variable. Save that. Then let's have the keyword as, and we can set some sort of a value parameter here, a variable that we place in as a parameter, and then we can try to echo out. So let's just say that I want to have my, or let's say I'm just going to echo out here friends, and let's say let's have a line break. Let's try to see what that will be producing. And I think, sorry, that should be value. So we do get now so array is friends is actually the variable name from where we stored all of the elements. And then we're trying to reference each of those elements that are a part of our array that we stored in the friends variable that we have here. So one question that might arise will be, is this customized? And again, if you try to look at documentations, you might see that this is a variable declaration that we've made, and it can be any custom identifier that we can try to think of. So I can just say elements. Okay, and just copy that here. That should still work. I could say friends list. So that means this is a custom word that you can put that will be giving a descriptive idea on what will be the content of your array. So this can even be just a simple letter X here. That should still work. And let's set to just for as a proof of concept. So we are still able to print out Josh, Alex, and Lawrence, as you can see here. And I'll keep the friends list here as for this first example. And you will see it's a lot much more readable in a sense. And one difference between the for each and the for loop is that when we are looping through items with the use of the for loop, we're using some sort of a numeric value and an index to access those elements. On the other hand, with the for each, as you can see here, we can use variable names. That is going to be much more easier for us to identify and read through the iteration of the array that we're trying to do through each loop when we are executing the for each statement that we have written here. So what's currently happening here is that for each of the loop iteration, so we are checking for the for each loop, and we are checking the list of the array, and we are identifying we have here a variable declaration that we made, and this will be representing each of the elements of the array that will be printed out. So it will be assigned to this variable friend list, and every iteration will continue until it reaches the last array element, and that's the one that we have here. So if I add another array element here, let's say I'm just going to put some more array elements, you would see it will add that up. So one thing that I just want to test out here, let me just comment this out and then add here still that same variable name, but if I put here a string literal data type, what are we going to get? You would see it's getting an error. So argument must be of type array or object. So just have that in mind. If you're using other different types of data type besides from an array, which is a compound type of a data type, we do have booleans, we have primitive data types in the PHP language. So just take note, we have what we call primitive data types, and we have compound types or data types in PHP. Okay, and we do have compound data types. Let me just correct that. Types in PHP would be an array and an object. There will be two compound data types in PHP. Some examples of primitive data types will be integers, floats, strings, and booleans that we covered in some of the previous lessons. So I just wanted to show you that this is going to definitely be running into an error if we do this. Let me just cut this down here again. Let's just try to see what happens if we put up to here. Are we going to run into an error? Let's see, it's not getting any error. We can also put through here a boolean, and we're getting that 1 being displayed on the browser. And if we give it a false value, we should see nothing on the browser, but there's that empty space below, right? So just have that in mind. Just wanted to show you that we can also use primitives and we will not be encountering any errors. Another concept that I just want to show you here will be the indexed arrays, which we have seen already, and these are going to be accessed using numeric values from where we start from 0 onwards, right? 0, 1, 2 onwards, index arrays. We also have what we call associative arrays, and this is going to be this will use name keys from where we can assign to them values, keys and values. So as we can see here in this first example, we have a key and we have a value. So let's say I would want to have here a person, and we have an array, and we can use the array method here, and let's say I'm going to put a key value pair of, or let's say I'm just going to say Rod. Then let's have my age going to be 40, and and that, and let's set to for each assign person as name of person. Let's have an echo for name of person. Let's try to test this out. What are we going to get on the browser? Undefined variable name of person. Let's see, I made the mistake with the camel case. So that's definitely something that you have to also save it. And we do have that. Let me just put an echo here. And let's have this line break just to read through it much better. So here we're using, we are using here index arrays. And in here we use, make sure that you end that with a semicolon. Here we are using associative arrays. And if we try to refresh, we now have index arrays and we have associative arrays. Associative array, perhaps we can just say, let's just say, because that's just a single array, but it contains multiple values, right? So you can see that that's currently working. Let's have another example. Let's say I would want to have members. And let's have an array here that will be saying the names of the members and their ages. Let me just echo a line break. And then let's try to go. I'll have some examples here. Peter. And we can have his current age will be 30 or 20. And don't forget, we're going to use the equal sign and the greater than symbol, fat arrow. Some will be calling that fat arrow. And let's have Uncle Ben. It's going to be 40. And let's have, I keep on forgetting the greater than symbol there, Aunt May or May. Let's have 40 also. And then let's have a for each members. Let's have the name and the age as key value pairs that we want to be code out. And we can say that we want to have the name and then their age. Then let's have a line break. Where did I miss the semicolon? Okay. Save. Members, name, age, name, age. And I think we have our array here. Where are we getting? And I think we forgot the as keyword. And then refresh. We now get Peter. And we're able to print out the key and the value, right? Peter 20, Ben 40, May 40. So I'm hoping you're getting the idea on how this is currently working. The associative arrays, what are index arrays or array, primitive data types, we've already covered that. Compound data types will be array and object. We haven't yet covered object, so perhaps we can try to work on that on a separate lecture. But for now, these are definitely going to be some things that you will be able to use in building projects in the future. So we'll try to build a project in combination of the fundamentals that we have so far covered in the nearby future in succeeding lessons. So just have that in mind. And for now, that's it for this lesson. And thank you, and see you on our next lessons.